Good morning, everybody. Have you ever just woke up? Well, let me preface that with have you ever gone to bed with a smile on your face and you almost don't want to go to sleep because you were showered with so many blessings and rewards that you didn't want it to end? Well, that's what happened to me yesterday. When it started out, I woke up at 4 yesterday, shortly thereafter, something like that. Whenever I started doing my morning devotions is when I woke up. And I had set my alarm for 5:30 because I had to be out of here by 6:30 to get to the dealership when they opened at 7:30. Which, with dogs wrangling, I didn't get out of here at exactly 6:30. I think it was 6:38. So I was 8 minutes off. But traffic it was a trip yesterday. Oh boy. I was wore out by the time I got to the dealership. And I'd messaged Regina, my go-to sister from another mister that gives out pink ink pens. Seriously, oh my goodness, I love them. I want my own pink ink pens. So I texted her, letting her know my ETA was going to be tardy, way in advance. And she said, no worries. When I got there, it wasn't. I could clearly see why there was no worries because there were tons of people coming in at 7:30 in the morning. It's like that's how they start their day. Let's get them all in, like a cattle call, and figure it all out. And she knew my biggest obstacle was making sure the Jeep Bianca 007 was fit to be driven to Arizona. Now I'm gonna do a little side conversation about everybody being worried about me driving cross country by myself. So I'm just going to put that out there. Nobody needs to worry. I've got 2 Rottweilers. No. Nobody's going to hurt Natalie. The darkness that even attempts to inflict me anymore is fleeing from me. They don't want to be around me and they're afraid of the dogs. So I don't worry about anything. I haven't for quite some time. So I'm just going to throw that out there for you to think about, ponder. So I took my computer because I knew I wasn't going to be able to do my biblical devotions before I left because I added some extra ones that were chiming in as I was reading the other devotions. I think I read 1, maybe 2, I don't know. For sure 1. So I thought, you know what? If I can get the Wi-Fi password, I'll upload them there. So I started videoing before I got the Wi-Fi password, and even after I got the Wi-Fi password, I couldn't upload them because their strength it was limited, is what it said. And I'd never gotten this message when I upload to my YouTube channel that it says schedule, and the top one didn't even have anything with it. And it just wasn't, even if I hit to schedule later, it wouldn't even click over to that. So I was like, you know what, I'll just wait till I get back to the hotel. So then I took a little drive down by Higgs Beach with the girls and thought, I text Pastor Buck about possibly getting communion. Monday mornings are rough for him, so the earliest he can get back with me is 11:30. And I needed to keep going with my day, so I'm going to wait till Ash Wednesday, or not Ash Wednesday, but Wednesday for Lent to meet up with him. It's unreal how it's all unfolding and how everything's falling into place. So I ran into Publix with Hannah Grace and parked at the nice Publix in Key West that I love to shop at on Sears Road, because there used to be a Sears store, and it's so sad that they're just no longer in business. I always liked shopping at Sears, and I always loved going in their tool department because I always felt like even though I was a girl, they never made me feel stupid. They were always so kind and loving until it wasn't that way. And I forget when I went and asked a question, and I saw a whole different mindset years ago. I thought, what happened? You know, I was always a girl that could come here and always get helped, and they're just kind of like threw me to the wolves. Oh, it's over there. I'm like, what? And it took me coming to the Florida Keys to go to our sweet little hardware store and walk in and be a damsel in distress, and they can see it written all over your face, and they're like, what can we help you with, sweetie? And I'm like, okay, here's my list. And I'm telling you, it's like having your own personal shopper right with you. I love that. And that's what I always loved about Sears. So it saddened me that, you know. So anyway, so it's on Sears Way, and it's a really beautiful, beautiful public. It's very clean and tidy, and everybody that works in there is filled with love and kindness. Because if you think about it, they're dealing with vacationers every day. How can you go to work and not be happy? Vacationers are always happy, unless they got a demon attached to them, like this gentleman here at the that came here yesterday or Sunday. Everybody's happy on vacation. I mean, how many people can we go on vacation and be in a fall mood? I can't imagine it. So we went through the store, and I had parked over far away, kind of far away from Publix, by a movie theater that was near the sign place that was going to put, that was at 10 o'clock. I had scheduled to put the logo on the doors of the Jeep. So, sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. Goodness, sorry. So I had parked over by the movie theater because there was a ton of shade, and it wasn't too hot yet. So, and Harley, she's getting so much exercise that she's it's a lot for her, and getting her in and out of the a Jeep is a lot of her. But you know, she's getting exercise, so she's getting stronger and stronger again every day. Aren't you, baby girl? Yeah, aren't you? Here's a pillow. So, so after we shopped, and of course everybody's doting over Hannah. Every place we go, they do, because she's Hannah. I mean, how can you not dote over her? Because she's just a big ball of love. She is a big ball of love, and will give you the biggest bear hugs ever. So everybody kept petting her through the store and talking about her and wanting to talk to her. And so I started to wheel this cart, and I'm like, oh Lord, I'm going to wheel this all the way over there. I don't have to come all the way back. Well, there was an employee of Publix that was taking a smoke break. So I said, sir, I said, do you mind if I leave this cart with you, and I'll go get my car and bring it over here? He said, absolutely. So I went and got the car, you know, me and Hannah, loaded her back in and drove back. And not only did he watch out for my groceries while he was on a smoke break, then he helped me load my car. I mean, I didn't have a lot. I mean, I had just bought a case of purified water and 3 jugs of water. I bought cheese that was on sale too for $6 because, you know, the one thing that we do need is protein, and because the 3 of us have acclimated to eating very small portions, um, that we snack in small doses, all 3 of us together. So if I get something out, they'll try anything, so I can see what they like and what they don't. They don't take it if they don't want it. Now Hannah's getting better about it. At first she was eating everything in sight. So their meals I'm gonna, Harley needs as much as she wants. Hannah's meals are getting cut down daily. Because we were so sedentary for 2 years, that her weight, she got some weight on her. But what's so crazy is, even though she's got this extra weight, she's extremely active. She's running around, she's having the time of her life, and she's solid as a rock. So it was such a joy for him to help me. And literally we got to the sign place just a few minutes after 10. And the guy that I had hooked up or had talked to on the Friday before, Zach, he was tardy for work. It's a family-owned business. His dad started it in the, I think he told me in the '90s. So, and him and his brother look like twins, and they're three years apart. They're like it's like, oh, you must talk to my brother Zach. I was like, what's you talking about? It was almost like a moment of what you talking about. Was, but they part their hair on the opposite side, but I swear they look so much alike. It's unbelievable. It's uncanny. He comes back. He goes, my brother's not answering his phone. I said, well, I'm not leaving. I'm waiting because he knows how important this is to me to get this done. I'm on a time schedule. So he gets there and he has two dogs. I think they were bulldogs. I think they were bulldogs. Thor was the one, and I can't remember the other one. And Thor was only little over a year old, and was like a typical puppy, nipping at my ears. It was the sweetest thing ever. So I really enjoyed his dogs while he was getting the logos and Lynn, the artist that I collaborated together to do this logo together early last year. So it was really fun to love on him. But the whole while, Hannah's in the Jeep looking at me, whining and crying like a baby. Oh my gosh, it was embarrassing. I was like, oh my gosh, and this other woman was in the sign place, and she's like, oh my gosh, that's how my dog is. I said, I don't know what it is. It's like she is my kid. She's the most well-rounded dog, but if she cannot be with me, she is just a fright. So I ended up going out and staying with her to calm her down. I had gotten a car wash because it was a filthy mess, because he was putting the sign on there, and I couldn't have him clean off just one door and the rest of it be a filthy mess. I mean, let's just be honest. That just would have looked horrible. So here's Hannah, freshly washed car, drooling down the side. Oh my word. Like lines of drool. I was like, she had like gotten herself all like worked up. She had all this saliva on her, and you know, what is the movie Beethoven? I can finally remember that. With Saint Bernard, every time she shakes her head, it's like that, with the slobber everywhere. I've never had a Rottweiler like this in my life. It's like, oh, Hannah, please stop. So I have to figure out how I can work with that so I can get her so she doesn't have all this anxiety. I've never seen anything like. I've never had a dog with anxiety in my life. So I'm gonna have to work that demon out of her apparently. So it was a really fun experience for him for me to watch him put it on, which is really super duper cool, and then really understand the impact of the image, Silence No More, and how patriotic and how it just exploded and came to life when it was on the canvas of the Jeep door, ×2. I was like, oh my gosh, it just came alive. That vision that I had almost a year ago. I'll have to look up. It'll be interesting to see how long ago it was that we came up with it. But I'm pretty sure it was in the spring. Don't quote me on that. You know me. I'll find exact date and time, because that's how I've always been. So I had gotten at least one honk and wave on the way, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about my logo. Because with my Nat 333 license plate, I kept getting beeps. So I'd beep back 3 times. Because I figured every time I beeped 3 times, he knew I was calling him. So stopped at Peppermint Patty's house to give the girls baths. Because some way, somehow, I knew I was going to make this Arizona trip happen. But I didn't know how. And I got to the Keys on a wing and a prayer. Didn't have a place to stay. And Peppermint Patty, I had 150, I think, $150 in my Venmo account, and Peppermint Patty had, I don't remember how much. So when I came to when I called the resort here and told them my situation, well, no, I didn't call. I couldn't call. I was so choked up when I first got to this resort. She had called. I asked her if she could because I couldn't bear my heart was just saddened, but tears of joy, but still the whole, where am I going to stay? I mean, I was willing to sleep in my Jeep. And then when I called a campground and was told that in Monroe County they don't allow you to do that, you have to sleep in a tent. And I'm like, oh, so what that means? I have to go buy a tent in order to sleep at a KOA campground. But you can sleep in a camper. I mean, what difference does it make? I mean, I would think a Jeep would be a little more secure than a tent, and the keys, it just does not digest with me. So I was like, okay, well, I can't sleep in a Jeep. And she goes, well, you can sleep here at our house. And the only reason why I couldn't stay in her house is because they've got cats, and their dog was a rescue, and they we're trying to get them acclimated together, all the dogs. So anyway, I was like, well, I am not opposed to that. So then the more I thought about this trip, I'm like, well, heck, I could sleep in the back end of the Jeep with the girls at the rest stops, as long as they have a shower. So I'm thinking, maybe I can get this, maybe this is going to work. Maybe I can still do this Arizona trip. Because I really want to, I mean, it's my nephew. I love him to death. And I'm going to see my brother Mark. I haven't seen him for years. And I mean, I'm telling you, as close as I've been to my brother Mark, I want to see my brother Mark. And all the missionary work I can do there and back, I mean, what the flip? Are you kidding me? So I kept trying to figure out how this was going to work out. And I know I'm on his plan. So I just kept trying to just throw it back to him, say, okay, you know, is this going to work out? Are you going to be able to let me have this all fall into place so it all works out? So I'm at her house and we're giving baths to the girls, and she even helped me. She was like my able-bodied assistant, passing me lavender shampoo, and it was really a really cool experience. So I kind of diverted. The hotel the first night only put $132.50 on each of our cards, so it wasn't the full amount that Peppermint Patty had authorized, and it wasn't all of my money. It still gave us each some money left, which was amazing. That was the first night I was here, and the amount was $132.50 times 2. So when you turn your life over to him, and everybody knows, I posted on Facebook that I was going back to the Keys on a wing and a prayer. And I'm telling you, as soon as I hit Marathon, I knew I was, well, as soon as I hit the Keys, the beginning of the Keys, I knew I was home. I've never felt so much at home in a place since Elkhart, Indiana, than I have since I've arrived here. And even when I got here, I didn't even know where I was going to stay. I was willing to sleep in my Jeep on the pet beds with my girls, because I did it in my living room many a times because Harley didn't want to come to bed. So I was like, well, there's will, there's way. I mean, look at Jesus. He walked for miles and miles on foot and slept in tents. Who said I can't sleep in a Jeep? He did it in a tent. My people worrying about me just because I'm a girl? Huh. I'm a girl with balls. Always have been. Always have been. So driving back to the resort, and having previously had planned to meet with Joanne and some girls to sit out by the pool for a little bit, because I really haven't done that but once, and I only was out there for maybe an hour, and we got rain. Because I've been doing so much legwork of planning of my next, what I'm gonna do, apply for a job, get my resume, figure out how I'm gonna get to Arizona, to the wedding, how am I gonna get into the house to get stuff. And then I thought, well, worst case scenario, I can get help along the way. I was gonna get in touch with my girlfriend Betsy and say, hey, can I borrow something for the wedding? I didn't even know what size shoes she had, but I was like, some way, somehow, maybe I can just stop there, see, if I could borrow something out of her wardrobe, because it wasn't looking good for me to get back into the house, because my attorney yesterday, that I thought was gonna help yet again, when I told him that I really needed to get in the house, because Harley, because she's being active, her back end, her joints, her legs are kind of wore out. I mean, she's gonna be 17 this month, so I really, I said, I would really like to get back in the house to get the joint meds, because frankly, I can't afford to pay for them. And everything here is more expensive, so I'm like, if you can, it all get me, so I could get into the house, so I could at least get her joint meds. The rest of it I don't care at this point. But it's now about her, it's her medical, and she hasn't needed them in months. So when the sheriff shows up to evict me, I that was just something I didn't plan for, because she hasn't had any issues with it. So he literally, he had responded that he was in Colorado. So then when I woke up and decided to share with him about the joint meds, and even Dennis the Menace, he goes, you gotta do something with her, she's suffering. And I said, I know, but I can't make it happen when I don't have the extra money. And she's strong like I am, and we learned to make do. So so the attorney, the dirty attorney is what I'm calling him, texts me back, you need to let it go and move on. I was like, what? You have got to be kidding me. So he tells me he's in Colorado and he'll be back Monday, and then that's what I get? Okay, that was the deal breaker of all deal breakers. That immediately sent me to Plan C. And Plan C is not so good for him. So I get back here, and the dogs are completely exhausted from the day, because, I had them up, and we were on the road by 6:38. So it was 12, Peppermint Patty said it was like 12:30 or something when I was at her house. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted, because I had been up since 4 in the morning. I'm like, I am wore out. I got to get back to the room, and I got to take a nap. I'm wore out. So when I get back here, all of a sudden, I get the second wind. And if anybody knows Natalie, when I get a second wind, there's no stopping me. Because I wanted to go at warp speed to Plan C, because I couldn't take it anymore. I finally said one with this attorney. So, made some phone calls. I got some documents printed out to start filling out. And as I'm typing what I'm going to submit, I get a phone call. Completely out of the blue and completely unexpected. From the landlord's attorney, Greg. I swear it was like talking to Greg Brady. At least the Greg Brady on TV from the Brady Bunch that we all knew and loved. That was like the big brother, making sure everybody was okay in the family. That's how I felt yesterday when he called. It was like talking to my brother Mark. I was like, after he said what he said to me, I was like, so you're the attorney for Leela, for the landlords. He goes, yes. And I'm like, okay, I literally had to, like, I didn't have enough time to digest the whole conversation because I was so blown away. I had submitted my rebuttal via a video after I was accused of things that frankly were false. I thought the most effective rebuttal was to do it in video form. So I did. And everybody knows me, I pour out my heart. So even after that, I was sued for eviction. And we all know the rest of it, where I'm at right now. So here's Greg Brady, at least that's my calling me, and telling me that let's see what we can do to get you in the house, get your stuff. And that they've already had scheduled a sale. And I'm like, what? Okay. Thank you. A door just opened up when my attorney slammed it in my face. The dirty attorney. So I don't know if they've been watching my videos. I don't know where the change of heart came from. But you want to talk about tears of joy? And I know, Greg, it was like I was talking to my brother because I just poured out my heart again. I told him I couldn't take it. These men that think that they can take advantage of women and take whatever they want from them and then just leave them for dead, you know, so to speak. It's just so wrong. And it's funny because yesterday I talked about the First Wives Club movie. I felt like I needed to start one of those, but it didn't have to be with wives. It could be wives, it could be women like me that were wronged by men, like Phil Wogoman, that the greed and the lust have taken over their lives. So I'm thinking, you know, for anybody that had a Phil Wogoman in their life that was wronged, could get some sort of benefit out of something like that movie, The First Wives Club. So of course that's been rattling around in the back of my head. So here I am talking to their attorney that sounds like Greg Brady. And he's going to call me today. So from that conversation, it opened up. I'm going to preface this with, when I got back, right after all that happened, that I could feel the stress in my neck, which even anybody that knows me during tax season, that's where my stress has always been. The acupuncture said the same thing. The chiropractor said the same thing. It sits in my neck. And that's why, you know, I've had issues, so I keep making sure I keep turning my neck. But last night it hurt. Because even though, or yesterday afternoon, it was just building as the day was going on. So even though all these huge miracles were happening left and right, there was still this constant stress of, I've got a deadline of the 9th to make that check good at the courthouse. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? You know, the dealership only is going to give me 31,000 when the check was, when the total amount for the vehicle was over 52,000, and it's only got 1,800 miles on it. I had already gone to another website, not CarMax, but I had gone to another website, and they were only going to give me 31,198. So the dealership's going to give me $198 less. Are you kidding me? I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. So I'm like, what if, which I'm going to call the court today, or I might just go visit them. I think that's what I need to do. What if I set up a fund? I mean, no matter what, unless the amount gets to the amount of what I had wrote the checks for, I'm not going to have enough with just the vehicle. So I actually considered, and I talked to Regina when I was there on them giving me the appraisal on the Mustang, to have the Jeep appraised. I mean, I was willing to get rid of both my cars to make it right. And I went, I'm not getting rid of Bianca. I'm not getting rid of her. I'm not doing it. She's going to be branded with Silence No More, and that's just it. Then I thought, well, maybe I could go to the bank and get a loan on it. Or maybe I could, find somebody that I could give them the title, and they could give me a loan, a short-term loan, so that I could make up the difference. I mean, you don't understand. My mind has been constantly thinking about this. I'm not sitting idle. So even if I'm sitting out looking at a beautiful sunset, my brain is like the movie Phenomenon, and is still constantly thinking of other options that I could tackle or use to help this situation. So the whole time my brain is thinking, the stress is building up. So yesterday I finally thought, well, maybe I could just go get a glass of wine. I was like, no, that costs money. And I had already gotten one glass of wine that I'm still drinking, and I've had it for 4 or 5 days. I only drink like this much, just a taste. I thought, you know what, the stress in my neck, the one thing that has always helped me is my CBD THC. And I haven't taken it in so long, I thought, what the heck do I have to lose? So I took two droppers, because that's been my loading dose. And it took a while for it to kick in because the stress was so great. So Harley was wore out, so she didn't want to go down to the sunset. But Hannah was ready, and I took her off the leash. I was like, that's it. I'm taking her off the leash. Everybody loves her. So we walked down there, and she's just like she was the day before, but even more at ease. It's like she's got a playground. And every time I've taken the CBD and THC, it heightens my awareness. It's almost like it opens up the circuits even more in my brain that I didn't even think was possible. So I really have been watching her behavior the last several days since we've been here. Both of them. And to see the peace that has come over them. So here Hannah, the day before, is chasing the beanbags and cornhole. I've never seen her do it. And she was like, it was her job, like to fetch them and retrieve them. And I'm like, holy crap, this is so cool. So last night, I saw another side of her. She was just like in her own little world. She was fascinated by watching the boaters. She was fascinated by watching the jet skiers. She was walking around, working the room. Everybody that came down to watch the sunset and listen to this really classic, older, like Frank Sinatra music, which is really cool because normally you'd hear island music, but this Frank Sinatra music is all, I am so about it. I always have been. I love the classics, always have. I always listen to, back at the Green Acres, I always listened to that Martini Time music on whatever, cable, whatever. Because you remember the old days, how classic and how men were gentlemen and women dressed up like women. They were always ladies. They didn't dress trashy. It just takes me back to a time that it seemed like life was so much easier than it is today. So to watch her interact with all of the guests here brought this sense of joy to my face that was, she kept jumping up on my little sofa and laying across my lap. She was the belle of the ball, and everybody wanted to love on her. So we're walking back, and I'm having revelations like left and right. And I really start thinking about this resort name, the Banana Bay Resort. And Hannah Grace's nickname has been Hannah Banana forever. So can you imagine the slogan of the Banana Bay Resort, come see Hannah Banana? I went, are you kidding me? Because she is at home here. They both are. And so am I. It's like the Coca Cabana on steroids. On steroids. That's how I look at this place. And it took those 2 droppers of THC for me really to see this. And as much as I adore the ocean view, I don't know what it is about having this view of the swimming pool that makes me so happy. I have these blinds open all the time, and even at night, I close them right before I go to bed, and I don't even put the blackouts on. I just have the sheer up just to kind of give it a little privacy at night. But if I want to, I can open them up at night, and I have them open before I go to bed, so I can see the lit swimming pool, which I see an idea that it needs more lighting. Just, that's Natalie. I like the pool to be lit up like it's a party all the time. You know Natalie. Well, anybody that knows Natalie knows that. Because they know I had lights around my pool. So I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, now let me think about this place and all of the things that it has to offer. It's got tennis courts. It's got a horseshoe. It's got a marina. It's got slips. It's got a beach. It's got a little community area where everybody goes for breakfast. That's a continental breakfast. You see the picture that I'm painting for you that know Natalie and the Coca Cabana and how I am? The only thing it's missing is a big kitchen for a chef to cook in. So my out-of-the-box thinking went on overdrive last night in this room. And the only other place I had this think tank was at La Casa on Summerlin Key. So my wheels started turning a lot last night. So today I'm going to go to the court. Well, I want to go take a visit to the attorney. I want to meet him face to face. And I want to present some ideas to him and see if we can't set up a fund with the court to start a bidding for the Mustang. And the funds have to be transferred after the 3/33 deadline on the 9th. for the sale of the Mustang. So they'll get their money. I don't have to worry about transferring the money or getting a cashier's check if they'll be able to set that up. Or if I can, I'll check. I need to make arrangements. So this is me thinking outside the box yet again. So what if, then I mean, it's the only asset I have left besides me, the stuff that's in the house, and me completely getting rid of all my transportation. And I think Bianca's been through enough of repairs, and she's got too much of a story that I couldn't get rid of her. I just couldn't, because it all started with Peppermint Patty and me in the pool at Water Aerobics when she said she had a Jeep for $10,000. And I thought, you know what, I really need one so I can do convention estates, political campaigning at the market. There's no way I can fit the stuff that I need in my Mustang. It's just not possible. So to think that it started from that little thing into now where it's at now, I just couldn't do it. I just can't get rid of it. And she's got an attitude like I do and doesn't like to sit idle. I'm like, got it. She's like me. I don't like to sit idle either. But for 2 years, I didn't have a choice because I was sick. So, if I can make this work, I'm going to start a fund, and whatever the amount that the dollar gets to, I mean, the baseline is the 31,000. So going into it, I already know I'm gonna do one more. I'm gonna get the CarMax, Carfax, whatever one is. I'm gonna get one from them, and then whatever the highest amount is, that's the minimum bid right out of the gate. Anything above that will be the winning bid up until 3/33 on March 9th. That's whatever the dollar amount is. When the 3/33 bell comes down, is who will buy will get the Mustang. So if no one bids, then whatever out of the three that I started with is who I'll sell it to. But I thought, what do I have to lose? Nothing. Because I'm already not going to get 52,000 out of it. I got that loud and clear. Even though in November, that's what was paid for it. So what do I have to lose? So I make the arrangements for it all to work out. Get my ducks in a row. Hire a driver. I'll have surplus cash to live on. And make it to my nephew's wedding while doing missionary work on the way. Why not? And it's crazy. For the last 2 days, the band Home Free that was at the fair 2018 or 2019 that I'd never heard of before, a song that they sang was Why Not? And I couldn't remember for the life of me the name of the band until yesterday. And I added it, I subscribed to their channel yesterday. And I thought, exactly, why not? Why not ask? Because the worst thing they can say is no. But what if they say yes? I've got nothing to lose. So I've got in my head other things to go with it, so I don't want to share them all for yet, because I need to make some phone calls today once it's like a normal hour, because right now it's 4 o'clock and I've been up since, I don't even know what, this is 45 minutes, and prior to that I was writing out what I wanted to say. I need to see if there's some other things that we can add to this equation to get the ball rolling. And I'm pretty sure I've secured the driver. So, say some prayers, because they are working, if you haven't noticed. Again, I'm waking up with a smile on face. I have this permanent smile on my face, and it's because of all of you that have poured out your hearts to me and shared your love, because I can feel it. I feel the love here at this resort. Everybody is so kind and loving. They're loving on my girls everywhere I go. So thank you. Dreams do come true. Despite being thrown to the wolves and being homeless, I still continued to do his work, even if I wasn't collecting a paycheck. I was still doing my ministry work. I was still trying to spread love and kindness, because at the end of the day, I've been trying to be like Jesus my whole life. And by uploading videos of the way my heart is, I think it's given me that opportunity to show people my own impression of how Jesus was, from when I read it when I was a little girl with my head under the covers, reading the Bible to fall asleep and feel safe. So, as the journey continues on, it's going to have twists and turns. You just have to buckle up and enjoy the ride. And when did people forget that? When did people stop living life the way he wanted us to enjoy? And I meet this gentleman from Venezuela and says, oh, and the part that we don't have to work. We work because we love what we do, and we share. Could you imagine a world like that? You know, for like my friends that gave me that food at the market that I love, I gave her some input about one of her dips, because I make a spinach I've done spinach dip, but my one recipe is an artichoke, a hot heated artichoke dip. And artichokes can be really tough and stringy if they're chunks, but if you pulverize them in a food processor or use a hand mixer, oh my gosh, you get all the health benefits of it without all that chewiness. So I text her that, because this spinach artichoke dip that she made is out of this world, but there's some big chunks in it that I ended up having to spit out. So I kind of gave her some insight, almost like I was at a test kitchen trying it out and giving her some pointers. So hopefully she's not taking it as I'm trying to critique her and make it like she's doing it a bad thing. I'm trying to enhance what she's already done and make it better. That's the only reason why I told her how I felt, to try it, taste it for yourself and see if you see the difference, because it's a game changer with artichokes, if you like artichokes. So I've taken their generosity and helped improve it by my taste buds and the texture. I've always had texture things. And I'm like, okay, there's so many things going on here. I've got my think tank back. And I'm not at La Casa. I've got another, out of the box location now? Are you kidding me? I didn't know that was possible. Here, I thought the only place I was gonna have that was at the Casa Tesoro de Celia. And, come here, baby, you wanna sit with Mama? Mama's right here, come on. Miss Harley. Come here. So I'm like, oh my goodness, I've got my think tank back. And my girls, I mean, they are such, look at my Harley. What loves? What loves? They are so happy here. They've got grass to run on. Hannah never liked walking on the rocks at La Casa, so I was trying to figure out how I could do grass there, some like a patch for him. And Harley, she supplements with her diet eating grass. She doesn't throw up anymore. That the only time she ever has that issue now is if she gorges herself with water. So it's like a giant playground for my girls here. So I've got a lot of irons in the fire right now, and they're just smoldering. But they're going to take nothing to build on and make beautiful fires. That's something they need to add out there. So I've got some ideas rattling around, and I wanted to collaborate with my chef, but he's got a lot of stuff going on right now. So I need to pray for him that he can notch out some time that we can sit down and get a business plan together. Because just looking around, my brain has gone crazy on overload of the things that I see, the potential that I see for this resort. That is something that I never even imagined. Like a Coco Cabana on steroids. So I was originally, I was getting ready to do my portals of prayer, but I'm already up to 53 minutes. So I'm going to end this video, and then I'm going to start my morning devotions and hopefully get to a point where I'm going to fall back to sleep. But if not, that's okay. I've just kind of adapted to having sporadic sleeping patterns. And these two girls sleeping, I mean, they're butt to butt constantly. And they're always up against me. They love their marshmallow beds here. They love their pillows here. So, it's another home for us. And it has felt like that ever since we arrived. And remember, we came here on a wing and a prayer. I posted on Facebook before I left when I was leaving Homestead. I didn't have a plan. I just knew it would work out irregardless. Remember, I was going to sleep in a tent. Well, I was going to sleep in the Jeep. But I was told you can't do that in Monroe County. So I was still willing to sleep in a Jeep at Peppermint Patty's house. But between her and I, we had enough money to get me in here one night. And then Jody McDonough, Jody McDonough Reed and Sean Helfrich saved the day when they started a fund, and I had a cry for help, and friends started putting money in my Venmo account to keep me afloat. Started the whole ball rolling. So thank you to everyone. My heart pours out to you with gratitude and grace for what you've done for me and my girls. And this is turning around much quicker and much faster than I ever imagined. And to think that where I was a few days ago, and that lottery ticket I just checked yesterday was not a winner. And you know what? It was okay because I already felt like I won the lottery. I felt like it ever since I arrived here in the Florida Keys last February, when I arrived at the market and met my extended family. And the first one I met was the French chef, Brett. That's where it all started. That's where the love began. And he was the one that was with me when I was escorted off the property by the sheriff. It wasn't Phil Wogoman, the other person that was being sued with me. You see the difference in person that has a soft heart versus one that's hardened. So if you can help me today, pray for Phil Wogoman, again, to soften his hardened heart. I'd really appreciate it. Because I know there's some goodness in there. Because I witnessed it several times. But he's had some demons that have been afflicting him for a long time. And it took me re-evaluating things that I experienced with him for the years. And going back to the day, I don't even know how, I don't know if it was the day before or the day, yeah, I think it was the day before, that his mother reached out to me before she passed away, didn't want to let go of me. Because she knew I was going to change his life, one way or another. He always said we were different, and he was right. But his definition of why we were different and mine are not on the same page. They never have been. We're different because I don't use people. Never have, never will. I've always been a giver. I've never been a taker. Never. And if anybody says I'm a taker, they're telling you a fictitious story. And they might as well just move to Washington with the rest of those storytellers. Baby. My girls. There you go, baby girl. How's that? to tell you. Come on now. How can you not love that? Look at those girls. And I've got all of you to thank for this. Because without your support, I'd be in a Jeep sleeping with my girls. That's the reality here. And it all stems from trusting, breaking my rules, and accepting an apple for the teacher. That's where it all began. So please help me pray for Phil Wogoman to have his change of hearts, because I saw a glimpse of it last night when he opened up Messenger. And when he opened up Messenger, he saw a flood of love with the scriptures. Tons of them. And I felt like I was an episode of Sex and the City. When Carrie and Mr. Big after he left her at the altar, Ned Vivian showed up, started sending love letters via email. That's what I started thinking of, because he opened up. And read, I'm assuming, Messenger, and he has not read it. I couldn't tell you when. It's been well over a month. It could have been since January. He completely slammed the door in my face. So when I saw last night that he read, or at least opened it, and any other time he deleted me as a friend on Facebook, but this time was different. He knew I was different. Just maybe he too can have a change of heart, like the attorney that I'm calling Greg Brady. So maybe if we pray enough, that can happen too. What do we have to lose? Just a few moments out of our time to lift Phil Wogoman up in prayer, to soften that hardened heart. What do you think? What do we have to lose? Not a darn thing, but a little bit of our time. And think of the rewards across the board, because it wouldn't be just a victory for me. It'd be a victory for people all over the world, because think of what we can do for others. Look at what we've done for others. Anytime, I've been talking to people here about how prayers have been answered left and right. It's a thought. So, stay tuned. I've got more coming up. I want to dig into these devotions and see how they parallel this over an hour video. So if you were able to get to the end, bravo. Everybody knows Natalie loves to tell a good story, but they're always factual stories. Always, when they come out of my mouth. Only one time in my life did I have to create fictitious stories, but I was betrayed by a best friend. That truly broke my heart, because I trusted her with my life like she was my sister, and she was not the person I thought she was. when you make up two stories, and the first one surfaces before 24 hours is up, and then the second one you make up is so far-fetched because it had to be for shock factor, I finally couldn't live with it. I couldn't even last 24 hours. I made the phone call and just poured it out. But the response on the other end was beyond wicked and evil. Yet, the end of the conversation was, the door's always open and I love you. They didn't go together. You cannot put such a negative energy out there and then erase it with something positive. Like that didn't ever exist. And that's what she did, or attempted to do. But I saw right through her, because she lied right to my face. She was the only person I told. How else would I get a phone call from one of the people that I put in the story if she told no one? She couldn't backpedal it because the gig was up. And the second story, I told that person that was involved in the first story, because when he called me, he said, "What's going on?" I just heard a rumor. That's how fast the rumor mill is in Elkhart. So how about we spread some positive rumors today and start helping out that neighbor and those with hardened hearts. Let's start working on those. That's my homework assignment for the world. Is those that you have in your life that have hardened hearts. Let's see if we can't start praying for them to soften them the way Jesus would want us. God is love. And let's spread that all over. Let's start softening those humans in the world that have by some way had something come into their life that has hardened their beloved hearts. I think if we try that, maybe that'll help silence some of these wars that are brewing daily. What the heck do we have to lose? Nothing. Nothing. Just little old me trying to save the world, even though everybody told me to worry about myself. I'm still trying to do it, even though I've been homeless. It could happen to you. It could happen to anyone. So thank you to Greg and Leela and Bobby for opening the door. To let me back in. And hearing my heart. And answering my prayers. Because you know I love that house. And you really need to take a tour of it. Because I took your investment and put so much love into it. You can't not see that when you walk through the front door. And the realtor said it's a house of healing. She felt that. That's what I turned your investment into, was a house of healing. not a house of turmoil. Because when I moved in there, I could feel it. I could feel all of it. And I have prayed for Leela and Bobby because I cannot even digest this sweet little family being separated by the demons of the world. It breaks my beloved heart. Ever since I've arrived in that house, I felt like they were my kids. I mean, I'm 56. They could easily be my kids. I even said that to Phil. I feel like this house is always going to be in the family. And I always felt that way. From the minute I walked in the door, the minute they picked us over others, that's how I've always felt. But the chain of events attached to it is not the hearts of them that I met from the start. Not at all. And that was the hardest part about this whole journey. To being homeless, that I just didn't understand. So thank you for having a change of heart. Thank you. These are not tears of sadness, they are beyond tears of joy. Truly. And I couldn't respond because I just didn't know what to do anymore. I was out of answers. And then when the bank account was closed without my knowledge, I just couldn't believe the cruelty of a human being. And it started with flowers that I'd sent to my new mom in Indiana. And then ricocheted to the checks that I wrote for the court to stay in my beloved home. I just couldn't believe a human being could be so cruel to someone that only poured out their heart to. From the minute this client walked into my office and offered an apple to the teacher. So beware of the forbidden fruit is all I can say to the rest of you out there. Just saying, history is repeating itself. The roles just got reversed in my situation. So can you help me pray for Phil Wogoman? That he has a change of heart. What do we have to lose? I already won the lottery. And it wasn't about money. It was about love. It was about love. It was always about love. Because God is love. And He will provide. He will make your path straight when you surrender completely to Him. It's amazing what He will do for you in your life. I'm living proof. So thank you for listening. I'm sorry I was so long-winded, but I had written out a bunch of stuff, and I kept writing, and I'm constantly writing stuff, and I kept saving it in my notes on my phone. I mean, my insurance that I had sent Phil to pay, they were canceling at 12:01 on the 7th, and I kept going back and forth with them. And I'm like, come on, somebody's got to work with me. So they gave me an extension through the 9th that I have to pay. They're giving me a limited amount to pay, which is $400. And I'm like, how am I going to get that too? I mean, I'm already on the hook for the checks for the court. So they gave me till the 9th to come up with 400 and some. And then 2 weeks later, I have to pay the rest, which the amount due was $2,400 or something ridiculous. Because, of course, I told Phil how much they were so that he could put the money in the account to cover it. And while we all know the account was closed, unbeknownst to me. So then that was just something else that came down the pipeline that I was dealing with over the weekend. So can you see how all the stress was piling up on me? I wasn't getting any relief, but then I was getting relief. So I was having to try to push it aside. That's why I kept posting on my Facebook, devil, you're not going to win. I'm going to give you 2 black eyes. 'Cause I'm done with it. So it's this journey. It just keeps going. So thank you to everyone that's helped me along the way this far. And the light at the end of the tunnel is getting brighter every second. So, bye everybody. Love you all. Bunches.